Hello and welcome back to Sigma TV. Joining me here today is one of the board members of the Fintech Association of the Philippines, Peter Ng. It is great to talk to you today.
Hi Yanni, thank you very much for having me.
Great. I wanted to jump in ahead as you were featured in Inside Success Media Tech LLC shortlist of innovative tech companies to watch in 2020. Now, how are you implementing blockchain technology in 2020?
Thank you for the question and thank you for the high praise. So I'm actually quite surprised myself that we made it in the top 10. I don't find what we do particularly innovative, but I think the technology itself is very innovative, and we're very happy to play a part in this. So maybe I can just give you the background of kind of what blockchain space does. So blockchain space is actually a education hub across 4 different countries in Southeast Asia. So actually we have a presence in the Philippines, Thailand, Indonesia, and Malaysia. And what we're actually trying to do is support blockchain projects using our own existing infrastructure. And so the existing infrastructure comes from co-working spaces. So we have a network of 15 co-working spaces across 4 different countries. And we use that infrastructure to support the upcoming kind of blockchain companies. And so something that we saw is, a repetitive kind of demand from these companies in the region is everyone's always looking for the same thing. So being a nascent technology, these guys really need support in like investment, finding investors, marketing to local markets, understanding kind of like the Asian mentality as well. Myself, being British, but looking Asian, it can be very deceiving that I actually understand like the local market, but actually when I first arrived in the Philippines, I actually had a lot to learn about understanding what local mentality is like and exactly, understanding the local culture. And I think that's basically where we add a lot of value. Another thing is really, so coming through the co-working spaces, we're all about community and all about collaboration. I think the blockchain community is very aligned with this. And additionally, the blockchain community is also looking for talent. So whether that's people in business development or technology, so more on the development side. So we help to kind of source developers in each region. So the Philippines is very blessed with IT savvy developers, and they're very affordable in the global setting, and that's something that's very attractive to companies around the world. And then additionally, what we help with is with local knowledge, you can help with regulation and you help with education.
Now, Peter, how would you evaluate the developments of the blockchain technology in the Philippines for the past 12 months? And what projects have stood out for you the most?
Something I mentioned actually in the Inside Success article is really that 2019, and I think in general for most of the world, so the Philippines being no exception, it was a very challenging year last year for our industry. So you see a lot of people kind of from the side that I was working in, which is more enterprise, that a lot of enterprise companies were having a very hard time whilst, cryptocurrency price action was kind of down. Bitcoin was having a bit of a depressed price moment. And generally, because it's an industry that's very driven by market sentiment and price action, it didn't really help the whole industry as a whole. And so you actually saw a lot of companies kind of shutting down, especially in the Philippines in 2019, especially in this enterprise sector. And so when I say enterprise, what I mean is people who are building solutions for other people. So, people that work with banks, that work with insurance companies, there wasn't that much interest anymore because they just felt like, this technology is not needed right now. There's just not this, there isn't this urgency. And then there was a bit of uncertainty around regulation, like how will cryptocurrencies be treated and how will blockchain, the technology itself, be treated. And so, although there was kind of that depressed kind of price action last year, and then you have a couple of companies kind of having a hard time, we did see some kind of big projects from kind of last year and the years before, making marks in the Philippines. And that's something that keeps me very motivated here in the Philippines. And so companies or banks like Union Bank, for instance, they have a project Eye to Eye. And that's like an interbank technology where they basically enabled themselves to be able to settle transactions between them and some banks in the rural areas that didn't exist before. And this was a beautiful, basically, application of the technology, and a great example, basically, to the rest of the world on how you can use it. Another one is, so RCBC here also implemented their own stablecoin. So that's like a peso-backed currency. And that's something that they look to use basically to make settlements for their own transactions. So it was a hard time basically in the last couple of years, especially in enterprise. But we still see kind of like these larger, these very large corporations or financial institutions making kind of monumental steps forward that kind of show you that how promising it can be. And so for this year, I still believe I believe the trend is still going the same way. So it's a bit slow and tough, but it's at least it's predictable. So the first part is I still see a lot of focus on education. So that will be online courses, getting involved in university curriculums, providing workshops for developers or enterprise professionals. And then I also see the drive for more retail adoption. And so it's kind of helped. I don't know if have you watched the Bitcoin price in the last couple of weeks? So since March 12, actually, Bitcoin is actually, since this very steep drop, it's actually doubled in price. Right. So as you can imagine, like as soon as people see like 100% gains, then the media starts publishing articles about like how Bitcoin makes crazy returns, and then people start to pay attention as a speculative asset. And then also during this time of COVID, people have been looking at Bitcoin as this hedge against these currencies that are completely getting killed by economic factors. So you see, like in the US, they are printing so much money right now that you could see Bitcoin as a hedge against like the US dollar, which supposedly will lose value in the future, and Bitcoin will gain value in the future. So people in the industry will generally always tell you the same thing. So there's something called dollar cost averaging as an investment methodology, which is basically just buy the same amount on a regular basis and only invest the amount that you can afford to lose, right? So let's say you have $1,000, right? And you want to spread that out into 10 payments, right? And so you do $100 like per month, pretty much at the same dates, and you don't care about the price. Now, because Bitcoin is so volatile, right? It goes up and it goes down. The chances are that every time that you've bought it, you've bought a bit up and you bought a bit down, and then you'll just average out the price. But as long as the trend for Bitcoin is generally going up over the long run, your investment is generally always going up as well. So that would be my advice, is basically dollar cost average.
Now, Peter, based on your experience with blockchain projects and use cases, could you identify ways on how blockchain could be implemented into a business model that would help the COVID-19 situation?
That's a really great question. And it's, again, it's like perfect timing. I've already mentioned earlier about Bitcoin as a hedge to basically national currencies, especially currencies that are being deflated, caused by like the U.S. Fed that's basically printing trillions of extra dollars out of thin air. So that's an interesting take, maybe a little bit extreme. But more on the technological side, so there are definitely some use cases that people are coming out with, and I am actually working on a submission myself for. There is a program that ADB, so the Asian Development Bank, is actually running right now. And it's an initiative called Digital Against COVID-19 program. And it's basically running throughout the year, and it's going to be split into 3 rounds. And so they're actually looking at different solutions for different problems. So you've got like some are for medical, some are for industry, so like supply chain, and then some are for financial. Right? And so I highly recommend people look into this. I'll share you the link later. But the solution that we're particularly looking into is actually using blockchain technology as this ledger to help us track people's movements using a crowdsourced kind of information, whereby you can basically upload information into your own app and say like, oh yeah, I know this person is I don't know, has been infected recently, or I know there's high number of cases in this particular area, and then we can basically show you kind of like on a mobile phone, like heat maps on like our localities to say like where the most number of cases been found. And then let's say if you self-declare as like having COVID yourself, right? And then people can actually see you live on the map. Where are you? And then I know it's a bit weird. Like you have to opt in to share the information, and you don't have to give your name even, right? So you could also say like, yes, I'm afraid I've been diagnosed as having COVID, and the chances are like healthy young people, hopefully don't pass away from this, but the chances are that you can really infect other people around you, and so you're just being responsible basically by declaring your status, right? And if you have this app, basically you can show like in certain buildings, in certain restaurants or malls, like where the highest density of like cases, so that you know where to avoid. I think it's a bit of a mix right now. So there are definitely some technologies that are available. A lot of them are being additionally built on right now. So for instance, our solution is actually being built on right now. We're pitching to ADB for this. But yeah, it's a very interesting time. Without ranting on for too long, but something that really excited me recently is the actual BSP governor, so Benjamin Diokno, on Tuesday, he actually made a statement to basically to the country about his initiative for digital payment transformation towards 2023. So within 3 years, he wants to make 50% of retail transactions digital, and he wants to include 70% of the adult working population in financial literacy and also being banked. Right? And I think it's a huge statement. It's very ambitious. The number of people that are using like e-wallets right now, like Gcash, Coins.ph, Paymaya, right? And that it's really small, right? And how much cash is still king here. So you can imagine like how huge the feat's going to be. But like, when someone like Diokno comes out and makes ambitious statements like this, and you have his support, it kind of sounds very promising that, they are open to embrace technology and changes. Yeah.
Now, moving forward, what areas of the emerging tech industry are you working on?
So yeah, I continue to work with obviously on blockchain space. So we're trying to build this out, see how we can help blockchain projects even more. Um, Part of this is basically that there are actually new companies coming into the area. So like I'll just give you one example. Like there is this one blockchain company that's looking to do digital payments for the unbanked called Cello or Cello. Right? They basically have a mobile wallet and they're trying to go to these rural areas and help people to get onboarded and have a bank account, basically. Right? And these guys, there are ways that you can help them through kind of community efforts, building education, but then also at the same time helping on the technology side, like I don't know if you know about nodes and validators, but it basically helps to, if what you can do is they run their own blockchain and you help to support their blockchain by confirming transactions for them. And by doing that, you're basically running what you call a node. And they need nodes in as many different places as possible in the world, just so it's it's more distributed and it becomes safer. And that's something that we can help basically for the Southeast Asian region. Other things that we're looking at right now is, we're always looking at new projects in the space of kind of like identity solutions. These are all things, by the way, that will be included in the Philippines initiative, basically to get people digitally included, right? And so we're looking at digital identity solutions. We're looking at more digital payment solutions. We're looking at more kind of like financial institution kind of related solutions. So like more like Union Bank type solutions. One thing about identity is that obviously you want to be able to own your identity like your own passport, right? And that's something that blockchain allows. So another thing is, you don't want it to be tampered with. You also want to be able to share that information with certain people, right? And that's in terms of creating identities and putting them onto a blockchain. You basically help to guarantee that this information has not been tampered with. This person is who they say they are, and you get to select who are the parties that get access to that information.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Peter, for joining me today. Your insights are very valuable. I learned a lot, and I hope our viewers did too. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much for having me here.
You're very welcome. And that is all for myself and Peter. If you wanted to hear more from Peter, we'll make sure to link down below his segment during Sigma's digital conference back in June. And also, we'd love to hear how you found his interview, so share your thoughts in the comments below.